champion lacrosse coach. What a difference a year makes. Last year, Bryan and I were commiserating after losing championship games, and this year, my pleasure to introduce him as the MIAA champion.
I appreciate that, Lou, and it's been a long journey. It's been a fun journey with this group. It's interesting, like, I was sitting there and I was asking my wife, I was like, hon, I don't know what to talk about. She's like, why don't you talk about perseverance? I said, well, I feel like I've done the perseverance talk for the last 15 years because we've always lost last year. I don't want to talk about perseverance. But, you know, I just knew, I was like, just pray for me, give me words, that I get words. But I'll share a little story before this championship game, which is pretty interesting because I do believe in prayer. And a friend of mine was always praying for me, and this guy moved to New Jersey. Calls me at 8 a.m., around 8 a.m. on Friday, and he's crying. He's just crying. It's like, BK, I've been praying for you, and I really feel like God is giving me a word for you. And I'm like, give it to me, because I was a little nervous and anxious and everything, you know, because I just wasn't sure what to expect. And as a coach, you prepare your heart and your mind for wins, but you also prepare for the loss too, like how to handle your team and so forth. But he goes, God wants you just to enjoy this. He wants you to enjoy it. He said he's got it. He wants you to enjoy it. I was like, all right, I appreciate that. And then probably another hour later, another friend calls me. This guy lives in Pennsylvania, and he says, I'm praying for you. And he goes, Bryan, I'm just telling you, it's going to be like, have you ever watched the movie Secretariat? I was like, yeah. It's like, it's going to be Secretariat in the Belmont. Enjoy it. And these are two separate guys. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, this is great. Well, I sat and watched the game, and I'm literally like, this is Secretariat. He's going down the last leg, and it was amazing, the display that these kids put together and how well they played their last game. And a lot of that is due to the 22 seniors that are on this team, 21 seniors. And it's just been a pleasure to coach. But I really want to thank the administration. I want to thank Cindy. I want to thank Lou, Mr. Heidrich, Mr. Stempler, everybody here, just for everything that you've done for me and for this program and just for the school. Our theme this year was to live like a champion. It wasn't to play like a champion, it was to live like a champion. It came from Colossians 3:23. It's my favorite verse. It's because it's probably what I struggle with the most as a human being. For whatever you do, whether word or deed, do as if you're doing for the Lord, not for man. And I'll repeat that again. For whatever you do, whether word or deed, do as if you're doing for the Lord, not for man. You play for an audience of one. We play for an audience of one. All that matters is what God thinks. All that matters is what God says. And that means in work, that means in school, that means in your social life, that means in your athletics, that means everything. You do the best you can with your God-given talents. And if you guys on this team who didn't walk away with a worldly trophy of a championship did the best you can with your God-given talents, then you are a true champion of success. And you can walk out of here with your head on high. Has nothing to do with the trophy. It really doesn't. These kids lived it. In the off season, they worked hard. They pushed their bodies to the best of all they could possibly do. I've never seen a group work as hard. They served others. They put others before them with the Believe Big event. We sponsored a kid who had cancer, who was at almost every one of our games, this young boy who had leukemia. He was on our sidelines. He was in the locker room. If you look at the end of the results, these guys are holding this young boy named AJ who's struggling with leukemia. This team adopted an inner city team where we worked with and we helped them grow and become better players. And that inner city team was a high school team that ended up going into the quarterfinals, which we took great pleasure in. They served each other. They sacrificed their weekends. None of the juniors went to the junior prom this year. Unbeknownst to me, they sacrificed that, from what I understand, just in order for those guys to be able to try to win a championship. Positions, we had guys like Kelton Black, who was on extra man, who we asked to play man down, and that's just like, from an offensive perspective, that's a major sacrifice. That's like asking, you know, your ace starting pitcher to be a middle reliever or something like that. You know, that's the only thing I can think of, but it is a huge part, a big job, and he did that for us. Guys, just continue to sacrifice. I think the keys to our success was, number one, as I've defined success, really was our 22 seniors. And really, when someone asks me, like, what do you think is going to help you win the championship? I go, it's going to be the guys that don't play. The guys that don't play out of 22 seniors are going to determine if we win it or not. Because if you're a senior and you're sitting on the bench, it's pretty miserable. It's pretty tough. And you only have so many guys play, and those guys that didn't play as much had as big a part, if not more of a part, because their attitudes were great, they were always positive, and they put the team before their own self, and that was huge. The other part was the mental preparation. It was blocking out the noise. We got myself a sports psychologist who worked with us a little bit, and these kids have so many distractions and noise and all this stuff from parents to blogs to media to whatever it is. And the mental preparation, and I think we learned a lot from last year's defeat from Gilman. I really do. I count last year's losses probably for me as a coach the greatest blessing I've had in all my years of being here coaching for 20 years. Because I learned more about what I need to be better at as a coach. And I never would have learned that if we didn't lose, the way we lost and how we lost and so forth. And to me, at the end of the game this past year, I thank God for that. It really was a blessing. And then the other thing is about relationships. And these guys developed the relationships with each other, and the relationships were strong. And they came together, and these guys enjoyed the process. The thing that we focused on more than anything else was the process, not worrying about the results. Don't worry about the results, just focus on the process. And that's what these kids did. I'll end it with this, because this is really important. This is a message to my seniors and to all those who continue to go on. Championships are awesome. It's not what it's all about, though. It's not what it's all about. And there's a Christian apologist, this guy named Ravi Zachariah, who I really love. And he shared this thing. He says, the saddest day in a person's life is the morning when they wake up after they achieve which they thought would bring them the ultimate. And instead, they still feel empty inside. Trophies wither, they rust, they go away. Championships will last, and the excitement of this should last for a while, and it's great. But it will then go away. What will always last is your relationships with your teammates. It's your relationships with your classmates. It's the relationships that you make here at Calvert Hall. That is what will last forever. And we all try to fill a void in our hearts and in our minds, and we try to fill that void, and sometimes we try to fill it with athletics. Sometimes we fill it with alcohol, drugs. Sometimes we try to fill it with sex, money, you name it. You got it. He was all over that one. Sometimes you try to fill it with status. You try to fill it with a lot of things. The only thing that can fill the void is no championship or anything like that. It's a relationships. Relationship number one with God. That's the most important. And number two, with each other. It's about relationships. It is about relationships. And that is what I will take away from this year. More than anything else is about the relationships with each one of these kids. It's about the relationships that I've developed with many people who have impacted my life and who've invested in me. And I will tell you this, guys, I promise you, I've been a part of some very special championship teams in my life. The thing that I remember the most as I look back on the years at Carolina when I won being a part of a team, it's not that championship. It's the friendships and it's the relationships that I made with those guys on that team, and that's what it's all about. And I'm honored that I could be a part of that journey with you, and I thank you for all your commitment to each other and all that you did and all your sacrifices. Congratulations for what you earned this year.